and have the CIA distribute it. You can hear the celestial laughter.
Ken Kesey was a writer, and he was a student at Stanford, and he was part of experiments at the VA hospital there. For money, they could take these experimental drugs, including LSD.
And my metaphor for the thing was, it's as though these people had discovered a room, and they thought there was something in that room of value to them, but they didn't want to go in there. So they hired students to go in there, and after a number of those students came out with a wild look in their eye, they said, close up that room and don't let anybody else go back in that room. And that's when I found that my key fit the doctor's office and decided that this was too important a business to leave in the hands of the government.
It didn't take him long to figure out how to get his hands on it. And he got himself a job working the night shift at a psychiatric facility. And he would actually take the stuff during the night shift. That was where he got the idea for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. For him, being on this psychiatric ward under the effects of these chemicals was like someone ripping the veil away to peer into the darkness at the heart of the American soul. Kesey is essentially looking at American society as a loony bin.
Here was this tremendous work of art that was written partially under the influence of LSD and captured a lot of people's feelings about the spirit of the age and the need for this breakthrough through the freedom-loving spirit. And I think Ken was able, through that literature, to just motivate a lot of people. And personally, I'd say it motivated me to try psychedelics.
The significant thing about Kesey, I think, is that the psychedelic experience really becomes, first and foremost, an adventure.
Ken Kesey, in the story told by Tom Wolfe in the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, gathered his friends in a group that they called the Merry Pranksters, had as much LSD as they could put together, got in a bus that they called Further, and drove across the country experiencing America on acid.
This is the captain speaking. We are cruising at an altitude of 38,000 feet. Oxygen will not be necessary in the pressurized cabin.
To say that they were merely stoned would do a tremendous disservice to how stoned they really were.
Surreal, fun quality to being these kind of psychedelic pranksters. It became a big joke on straight culture.
Sleep all day, drive all night. Brain my numb, can't stop now. For sure, ain't no doubt. Keep open mind, let it all hang out.
When they were all high and they were all plugged in, it seemed like the bus became this one consciousness through space and light and time, and that was what they called group mind. And that was very much the concept that they were going after when they got back from the bus trip and they decided to begin the acid tests. Suddenly, these leaflets started appearing up and down the coast and around the Bay Area with these cryptic words, "Can you pass the acid test?" And what the acid tests were was the first multimedia mass acid experience.
During the time that Kesey was experimenting with it, LSD was manufactured as a legal drug. So he became sort of the Pied Piper to the psychedelic culture that was growing up in the San Francisco area at that time.
The commencement exercises for LSD-U will be held at Winterland on Monday night. That's Halloween. And of course, the man who is going to be passing out the diplomas is Ken Kesey.
I knew that people were tired of the old concert form, and the acid test was, again, discovering what there was out there if you just continued to move away from the norm.
Are you going to tell what's bad about LSD?
questions at the graduation ceremony, Captain? Why don't you guys come?
Some of that high-powered rocket fuel? Well, let me take a sip.
The acid tests were the hippest place to be at that time. People were just getting used to acid. They were light projections, and they were music, and they were people basically manifesting themselves, going dressed according to their own fantasies. And acid was the kind of lubricant that made it possible.
And then there was this group of musicians called the Warlocks. And of course that was the Grateful Dead.
The acid test was that we could play or not. And a lot of times we would get we'd be too high really to play. And we'd play for maybe a minute. And then we lose it.
Kesey and the Pranksters really created the blueprint of the psychedelic counterculture. And at the same time, you had this budding community of like-minded people. And it all just began to coalesce.